I think this resource that we have as far as fish, everybody's entitled to it. I don't care if you're from Nebraska or you're from New Hampshire. Everybody has a vested interest in this resource within the United States.
If you've been around this industry, the system's broken, and it favors the big-time corporate boats and fishing boats, and the day boats are getting pushed aside and forced out of business.
I've been fishing for over 7 years. I just recently stopped because the amount we were working just to make a living was just getting too hard. I had a kid last year, and so my wife's at home with him and trying to make ends meet and working as much as I was. It just wasn't adding up.
No matter what fishery you're currently in, the regulatory complexity is just daunting. It almost makes the fishing end of it look relatively easy.
You're the one that's out there seeing what's actually happening out in the ocean. And somebody sitting at a desk in the middle of the country is laying down all these rules for you, and they have no idea what's actually happening out there. It just seems like roadblocks, and they're just trying to just put you out of business.
They're looking for 100% dockside monitoring. They're looking for 100% vessel monitoring with somebody on the boat. And at this point right now, it's unfunded. And that cost will be put on the shoulders of the fishermen.
We have to take what are called observers. I tell people they're our own personal state trooper who sits there and just stares at us all day to make sure we don't speed on 95. There are much more effective ways to make sure people don't speed on 95 than putting a state trooper in everybody's car. But not only do we put one in on our boats all the time, but we have to pay them, and it's $700 a day. If you bring in $100,000 worth of fish on a large boat, maybe for a 7-day trip paying $5,000 isn't an enormous burden. But if you're a boat like me and you catch $800 or $900 worth of fish a day and you pay $700, and then you got to pay the crew and the fuel and all the other expenses, you can pretty rapidly see that we can't even break even.
Every boat is one small business, and there used to be a lot, even in New Hampshire. With our tiny little coastline, we had, I don't know exactly how many, but in the 90s there was 40, 50 ground fish boats. Now there's 5 maybe, and most of them aren't active most of the year.
The regulatory regime that we're in right now favors consolidation, that the people with the most money can start to buy up the resource.
I think I'm a lot like a family farmer, and I think we're faced with extinction. And I feel bad for family farmers. They're up against ConAgra or whatever, these big multinational corporations with these giant farms. We're kind of getting into that position in fish very quickly, where you're going to have perhaps a half a dozen multinational corporations owning the fish in the sea off the United States. And on a personal basis, I think that's totally wrong.
It's Walmart versus mom and pop shops. That's what it is. That's what happened. They just privatized the ocean.
Wherever this regime has been used, any place in the world, that's what it's led to. It's led to consolidation, that the resource is finally owned by very, very few.
In New Zealand, with the 3rd largest exclusive economic zone in the world, which is basically our 200-mile limit, 6 companies own 96% of the rights to catch the fish. And they're all multinational corporations, vertically integrated. And people like me, the fishermen, are called human capital. And if the human capital doesn't do what the multinational wants, we go get some more human capital. I'm sorry, I'm the captain of a boat, I'm not human capital.
And people need to ask themselves what they want to see. Do they want to look out and see a bunch of factory trawlers bringing their fish in, or do they want to see small independent boats coming in with their fish?
You wouldn't see corporate boats here. This place would be done. most of the coast of Maine and New Hampshire are day boat lobster fishermen. Most of them, the majority. And the layers of economic devastation it would cause is just staggering. I mean, you're talking from the loss of jobs for the crew, the captain, the vessel, the bait company, the lobster companies that buy your lobsters, the wire company, the rope company, the marine supply stores. The layers on the coastline would be it would be over. It would be devastating.
We're losing our infrastructure. We're losing our docks. They're being taken over by, condominiums and things like that.
Once that takes place, it's gone. It's gone forever. These components of the infrastructure just don't appear and disappear, through time. They're gone.
I think it's really important that New Hampshire residents understand that we have some of the most diverse groundfish species here in the United States, and 90% of our seafood that is coming into New Hampshire is imported, and conversely, 90% of the seafood that is landed in New Hampshire is exported.
They're not following any laws, really, and then they import their seafood and other food into our country for a cheaper price, and people can't compete with that. We can't sell fish for those prices because we are dealing with regulations. We are dealing with trying to have our crew make a living as well.
But it has an enormous carbon footprint, Imagine that 747 flying across the Atlantic every day with a hold full of cod, especially when you've got cod right here.
One of the consequences that I think goes unseen is when we're shipping seafood here, we're relying on shipping vessels which end up striking right whales and killing them. The local small boat fleet is going to have a much lower impact on the overall health of the environment.
We do not have a voice in government sticking up for us. We are the same as farmers. We're farmers of the sea. Somebody needs to fight for us.
If you go walk around these docks and you meet fishermen, it's their everything. These boats, this business, they love it, they care for it. It's everything to them, and it was everything to me. And we're doing something very important. We're feeding people, and I don't know, everything about this industry is important. It's worth fighting for. I really, really hope. I have to admit I've lost a little bit of, a lot of faith more recently. But I really hope some things change. I really hope that this industry can be put back together a little bit at least.